I will run quickly through every component of business model canvas. And I'll say a couple of words and just give you some examples of what you might be filling in the canvas here. Now, customer segments could be mass market, niche market. It could be segmented, parents with small children, or, college graduates or something like that. Could be multi-sided platforms, and you might have more than one group of customers. Value proposition comes next. So this could be people should buy from you because of newness, because you have better performance, because you customize, and so on. Hopefully, again, by now you figured it out in the process of coming up with customer value proposition canvas, so you can just transfer it over here. Again, remember, the big point of coming up with value proposition is figuring out what kind of job you are getting done for the customer. You have to really think about, hey, what does the customer need to accomplish, and how do I accomplish this for the customer? How am I better than whatever other option the customer has right now? Moving on, customer relationship can be very close and tightly knit. I can be offering personalized assistance and dedicated kind of a personal service, or I can be very arm's length. You download my app and I never talk to you again, right? So I just kind of see what you do in the app and that's about it. Channels, lots of channels out there. You can be going through a retail network. You can be going through direct sales or internet, mobile. There are all kinds of business models with direct to consumer or B2B2C. You are selling to other businesses who are selling your product to consumers, and so on and so forth. Moving to the supply side, so what could be key activities? Well, you can be producing products, you can be producing services, offering experiences. Maybe you're doing a matchmaking as a platform and enabling transactions between different sides of the market. Key partnerships. So important to think this through. Very often you will be in an industry that is tightly regulated. So then government becomes your partner. You need to make sure you kind of comply with certain laws. Maybe you are regulated by a federal bank, for example, or maybe you are regulated by some municipal government. You need some licenses, right? Key partnerships are important because many things you can outsource to those partners. Maybe early on you don't want to produce your product, so you just want to go on Alibaba and find a manufacturer in China who will make your product, but maybe later on you will bring it in-house. So partners can be also your suppliers. Partners can be reducing your risk and uncertainty, maybe a legal firm. You don't want to do your legal documents yourself, and so on. Key resources, typically you have intellectual property of some sort, some human resources, maybe some real estate. If you are a financial services organization, you might need some money maybe in reserves. Could be some physical products, if you're a 3D printer, so maybe you're making 3D printers, then there's going to be some physical materials. And finally, let's talk about profits. So at this point, you should have a rough idea about your cost structure and revenue streams. And now cost structure, you should probably know your major fixed cost components and variable cost components. You should have some ideas that there may be some economies of scale, how your costs is going to scale as you increase your size of the startup, get more customers. Hopefully your costs are going down. And on revenue streams, it's important to think through how you're going to sell your product or service. Is it going to be based on just a piece of product or unit of service you are selling, or maybe it's going to be based on performance? Maybe you're going to measure performance somehow, and as a result, you're gonna tell customer, hey, if I perform better, I'm going to charge you more money as a result. Very often we see now combinations of products and services where in addition to product, you want to sell some kind of a subscription to an app or to something like that. Increasingly, we see that startups are trying to have a revenue model which is very diversified. If you look in the past, a lot of startups, at least, especially in the United States, had just one revenue stream. For Google, it's almost 100% advertising historically. Then for Facebook, it's almost 100% advertising. For Amazon, it was almost 100% selling products. But if you look, for example, in China, you look at WeChat, and their apps and social media. It's very different. It's very diversified. They sell products, they sell service, they sell all kinds of bells and whistles. They give you a product for free, and then maybe upsell you and cross-sell you. 10, 20 years ago, it was still possible. Nowadays, this market is divided between Facebook and Google, and so you have to work harder. You have to have some kind of a combination of product and service, and something based on performance, something based on something else. So these are kind of the most successful startups that do not rely on just one revenue stream. Now, as I mentioned, startups are really not profitable for many, many years. And so how do you reconcile that with a profit formula if there is no profit? Well, startups think about something slightly different than profits. Eventually, you want to have a story for an investor about how you're going to make money. So eventually you want to show a path to profitability. But in the meanwhile, throw in an example here. This is not my example. I just lifted it from the internet. You can Google, you can find lots of examples. This is Netflix. You see kind of level of depth is not very deep. It's basically for every rectangle, you expect to see a few post-it notes kind of, But what is kind of even more important to realize is that once you fill out this business model canvas, you have to remember that this is your vision of business model canvas. This will change. This is your dream. But the reality is in every rectangle here, it's a hypothesis. This is what you think your customer segments are going to be. This is what you think your key activities are going to be. This is how you think your profit formula is going to look like. But really, there is no way to tell. This is work in progress. You are searching for the best business model, and every little piece of this business model will change and probably should change. And this is going to be kind of next step in your journey in the accelerator. So I'll just give a little preview of it. So what you do next, you experiment and you test this hypothesis. You confirm that this is really your customer segment, that this is really your profit formula, this is really your value proposition. So you build some kind of a prototype of every piece of the business model, you show it to the customer, and what's going to happen in 90% of the cases, you will pivot. You will see that you learn something as a result of this experiment, which will lead you to change the piece of the business model, will lead you to pivot to a new business model, and then to a new business model, and then again and again, until you stop, or maybe you never stop. Like you look at a company like Amazon, they never stop. They always change their business model every couple of years in a very, very, very significant way. Launching Amazon Web Services, buying Whole Foods and offering third-party sellers to come to its platform. So what the good companies do, they never stop. They keep iterating on their business model. And as a startup, you will do it very, very often. So, so this is what I had for you today. Again, business model innovation, my favorite topic. I wrote a couple of articles on it. I wrote a book on it, available in 5 languages. You can contact me, connect on LinkedIn. You can look at my investments and venture capital funds that I'm investing in. Please reach out if you have questions, ideas, or complaints. I love complaints about my lectures. So please do send me some complaints. Thank you so much.